Hello, this is Unlock 3, listening and speaking for B1. We are in week 5, day 5. In this video, we are going to focus on listening 1. In this activity, we are going to practice listening for main ideas and listening for detail. If you look at page 74, you will see this question. Listen to the first part of a radio program and circle the best answers below. It is a good idea to pause the video now, read the questions and read the choices. This will help you to get ready for the listening and choose the correct answers more easily. When you finish reading, come back for the listening. So here is the listening task. This listening takes 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Here we go.
4.3.
Have you ever been afraid of flying? Do you feel scared when you sit on a plane? Are you stressed when there's turbulence? If so, you may have aerophobia. The word aerophobia comes from the Greek, and it consists of two parts. Aero, which means flight or air, and phobia, which means fear. People with aerophobia experience extreme fear or panic when they sit on a plane. In today's program, we're going to discuss some steps that you can take to reduce this fear. With me today is Mark Noling. Mark used to be a flight attendant who was afraid of flying. He has written a book about his experience and often gives presentations to help other people deal with their phobias. Can you tell us more about your experience, Mark?
Yes, sure. So, I joined a flight attendant's course right after college. My goal was to see the world, and I thought it would be a good job for me. On the course, I learnt a lot more than I expected. During the training, we studied a lot about air safety, but there were also lectures about plane crashes. The instructors would tell us horrible stories of broken engines, birds hitting the aircraft, and hijackings, and even stories of planes crashing in the middle of the desert or in the ocean.
That's terrible.
No, I don't think so. I believe they were trying to make us take the job seriously. They would also discuss the research done by air crash investigators to help us understand the reasons behind air crashes. There is a detailed record of each crash, which investigators check carefully.
But for you, I suppose this training had the opposite effect. Did it make you afraid of flying?
I actually became very scared of being on a plane. When I told my colleagues about it, they just laughed. They couldn't believe that I had completed the flight attendant training and now I was afraid to get on a plane. What was I supposed to do? I decided to do some research online, and I read stories of people who managed to control their fear of flying.
Can it be cured?
Actually, like any phobia, you can't always cure it, but you can decrease its effects on your life. You need to have the right attitude. You can achieve anything if you concentrate and stay positive. The advice I got was very useful, but it was a challenge, and it took me a long time to get over my fear.
All right. So here are the answers. You can read the audio script to check your answers on pages 208 and 209. Let's do another practice for listening. We are going to focus on details. Pause the video now again and read the sentences here. The question is this. These are tips on how to reduce a fear of flying. Discuss which tip you think which tips you think are most useful. We have 6 tips here. Read them and think about which is the most useful. Of course, when you are doing this, remember to provide supporting ideas. When you answer a question, you should always think about how you would support your answer. You should explain the reasons for your answer. For example, if you think this is number 1 is a good idea, learn how aeroplanes work. You should explain it with your reasons. So, we are going to listen now. Somebody is talking about tips on how to reduce a fear of flying. Which of these tips are mentioned in the listening? So just circle the tips that you hear in the listening. So here we go.
4.4.
Can you share some advice with our listeners?
Of course. Well, the first method is to learn more about how planes work. For example, many people believe that without the engines, the plane will simply fall down from the sky. This is not true. The plane will stay up because its wings push against the air. A plane can fly without the engines, and a well-trained pilot will be able to control it without power. All pilots learn how to fly without the engines.
What about turbulence? Whenever I fly, I get very scared during turbulence.
Well, turbulence can be dangerous, yes, of course. However, most turbulence is completely normal and will not cause any problems, so you shouldn't be afraid of it. The only situation when it can cause problems is when the aircraft is already damaged or during a storm. But, as you know, most airlines study the weather and will not transport passengers if they think the weather conditions are not suitable for flying.
Is there any other advice that you can give?
Understanding where the emergency exits are may help you relax. Not knowing where an exit is and feeling that you are in a closed space can make you afraid. Finally, to decrease the fear of flying, you should avoid watching films about plane crashes or other accidents. Some researchers say that aerophobia is caused by people watching too many disaster movies. I think we often forget that compared to the many forms of transport that we use every day, air transport is actually very, very safe.
In what way?
Well, there is research which compares the number of accidents per number of kilometres travelled in each form of transport. We can see that by far the safest form of travel is air transport, and the most dangerous is using a motorbike. In recent years, there has been a significant decrease in the number of plane crashes. In contrast, cars are considerably more dangerous.
Really? I didn't know that. Thank you for your advice, Mark. You can let us know what you think about air safety and share your stories by going to our website.
Oh, it's okay. So which of these tips was mentioned in the listening? There were 3 tips mentioned in the listening, and they were these 3. To understand how he explained how he supported this idea, you can go to page 209 and read the audio script. He said, for example, learn how aeroplanes work, and he explained this. He supported this idea with explanations or examples. He said, learn the layout of the plane before takeoff, and then he explained it. And also, he explained the last idea. How to learn or to see how he did it, go to page 209 and read the audio script, because in speaking or writing, this is what you should also be doing. Again, on page 74, you will see the summary of this talk, of this interview. You are going to read this paragraph and complete the sentences with these words. Pause the video now and come back to check your answers. So here are the answers. There are many steps you can take to, so you need a verb, right? To reduce the fear of flying. Learning how a plane works will help you understand that planes can fly without the engine. This is because the wings push against the air and keep the plane flying. You shouldn't be afraid of turbulence. This is completely normal, and can only cause an accident if the plane is already damaged. Other tips on how to prevent a fear of flying are to learn where things are on the plane and to avoid disaster movies. Finally, you should be realistic and remember that flying is much safer than driving. So in this video, we focused on some key vocabulary and we did some discussion practice using your knowledge.